Fun in a recording studio. How I like to hear that RF interference.
There's not a lot to do here except play music and have a good time, you know.
Yeah, unemployment breeds creativity.
When Friday came around, it wasn't like, oh, what are we going to do? It was just like, okay, who's playing at the hall tonight?
This is Fred Gamberg. We're just listening to material from Popbelly. As well, we heard a song by Hardship Post.
Back in the early 90s, our whole scene was built around hanging around together downtown and postering. We'd make posters this big, and we'd get one in the window of Fred's.
You'd walk by a pole and say, oh, Popbelly or Liz Band are playing. Oh, we'll go to that.
Just when that, Seattle thing was just affecting, the radio and stuff, there was this whole amazing scene that was happening here.
I spent my whole life turning tables and chairs upside down, but what I came here looking for is just not here anymore.
In the early 90s, a culmination of things happened. The Peace Accord had been happening for a number of years, and the all-ages scene had been building.
At the time, the outlook, I guess, was not great for Newfoundland either. There was a lot of people leaving, and it was an outlet.
In the early 90s, Nirvana Nevermind happened, and what had been a vibrant underground scene at that particular point exploded in 1992, 93. So all the kids from the suburbs came down looking for that type of music, and it just so happened that a core number of bands, five or six bands, had existed and were playing that music.
It was the LSPU Hall was the shit hot place to be, to play music, because that's where everyone went.
It seemed like every weekend there was a show there.
That's what I lived for. I loved going and playing at the hall.
This was like rock and roll. This was really organic and free.
The LSPU Hall used to have all ages shows at that time, and a lot of people would show up for that. A lot of people my age and younger and a little bit older. And that's where Popbelly played, Hardship Post, the Liz Band, Who Da Funk It. Those were the bands that I would start seeing. Bong, when I started going downtown more, those were the bands that kind of influenced me.
Who can go to a Bong show and go, oh my God, that was a rock and roll moment there, or oh my God, or, Phil Winters, you know what I mean? He's one of the best guitar players in town, if you ask me, from Newfoundland, because he's got his own sound,
They had their kind of trancey, rock and roll, heavy riffs. They were just hypnotic.
Good music to me kind of came with skateboarding, like punk rock and metal and all that stuff, and I met a few other people at high school that wanted to be playing music that I wanted to, and we started a band in high school. It was mostly like high school band wars, battle of the bands that we played. I'm sure everybody kind of goes through that kind of initial thing before playing in the downtown circuit, because you're underage, you don't know where you're playing for your friends really at first at parties and high school shows.
Grade 6, I started taking lessons. My friend, his brother Rich Spurl, was a drummer, and he taught me how to read, showed me how to use the sticks and the kit. And then from there on, I just took off. Artificial Joy, that started up. I got into grade 10, went to Bishop's College, and my sister was in grade 12. And so I met a couple of her friends that played music. So we were jamming, and Mike, the singer at the time, he wrote a song along with another student for their grad. Instead of like picking a normal grad song, they wrote and we recorded their grad song. We went up for 2 days to a studio in CBS.
Rainbow Recording Studio. Not that great, but it'll do. Hold on. Never mind.
With Artificial Joy, we were a high school band. Mike Hancock, he started a show called In the Studio on Cable 9. He would get other bands in from different high schools, and on one of the shows on In the Studio, they had MDI, and they had us, Artificial Joy. And I think we all met because we did the recordings on the same day, and that's where I really met Richie.
That's how we started. We started jamming at the Artificial Joy rehearsal spot. We just like progressed into wanting to be playing heavier music, and the music in Potato Bug was kind of like heavy grunge.
We just really wanted to sound like what we were listening to at the time, and I always hated the term grunge, so we always called it sludge or sludge newfie.
Kids were coming down in droves looking for the type of music that Much Music and popular culture was purposely pushing at them. Remember, like, you could go to Kmart. Remember the Kmart flyers? Grunge wear. No wonder that there was a lineup down Duckworth Street from the LSPU Hall. Kmart told them.
She's only 15 and you can't see buddy for dust. Strangled in a small town, stuck out like a sore thumb. Nowhere to run, shame for the family. Mary got a secret and the whole dirty little town knows.
Totally influenced by Liz, and still am.
Mary thought it was love, but I thought it was lust. And it was Mary's balloon that got busted.
Her style, it was just so amazing. I just looked up to her intellectually. The stuff that I was writing about, I wasn't really writing about anything. It was just more melodic and la la la. I didn't really have the force of a message of what she was saying.
Inside me there's a desert. My heart's become a stone. How hard I cling to my hurt. All my garden's overgrown. My brain is bent on vengeance.
This is the show called On the Edge. We're just listening to material from Popbelly. It's a track called Twister.
My first band was Popbelly, which started in 1991, maybe. I was hanging around downtown and was, sort of plugging away at trying to learn bass for myself. And then I'd seen Doug Jones's previous band. I'd heard that he and Rennie Squires, who used to go to shows all the time back then, and Sterling Robertson were jamming. And I just said, I hear you're looking for a bass player. I'd love to try out. We did our first demo early 92, I think.
I feel it coming on again, but I'm not ready for another one.
We did that with Ward Pike at Jolly Roger Studios. It was released on cassette. We home dubbed them and everything like that. I think if you have one of those tapes, everybody's tape sounded different because we used 3 different cassette decks. We dubbed the master from the DAT onto the cassettes, and every tape deck, of course, ran at a slightly different speed. So when you played it back on another tape deck, it sounded different. And we used the cheapest tapes we could find, so they didn't exactly record real well. That worked out. That band evolved till it was just me and Doug and Tony Tucker playing.
You guys have been together 2 years, and the alternative scene here in St. John's has, to put it mildly, exploded. How have you guys noticed a big change in the past 2 years? The crowd's been getting bigger and more enthusiastic.
Doug will field that one.
Yeah, the crowd's been getting bigger for the last couple of years. When we first started, like, there was, 15 people come see us at Bar None and stuff. But now we've turned, there's like 200 people at just about every show. People seem to dig what we're doing, so.
We did a full-length cassette and a couple of split 7 inches and a couple of comps in the oncoming years until, I think it was 94 we broke up, I think. Doug ultimately decided he didn't want to continue on, and when you're a 3-piece, if one person doesn't want to continue on, well, I guess that's the end of that band. And so then he went on to form Sterling Slacks almost immediately.
You cannot count for nothing. I'm out of here, but it's all the rolling.
Within a day or 2 days of Popbelly breaking up, Sterling Slacks and Potmaster started, and that was basically like, there was a band called Darshiva that existed as well right at that time, which was John Swires and John Fisher and Ivan Coffin and Natalie Noseworthy. So then John Swires joined Doug and they formed Sterling Slacks, and Natalie and John Fisher joined myself and Tony, and we started Potmaster.
I don't know how we came up with the name. It all made sense at the time. It wasn't like necessarily a reference to marijuana or anything at the time. I don't think it was. I think it was more like a pot, like the Chore Boy logo and a pot on his head. I don't even know. The scene was just so alluring. I couldn't help myself. I just wanted to be part of it. It was just so cool. It was really organic and awesome, and the bands were awesome. And then all the people that would come to the shows, like everyone would just be hanging out at the War Memorial and Duckworth Lunch, like this cafe that was on the go. And I don't know, like I just wanted to just hang out downtown. And I don't know what made it so special then, but it was special.
Now to get us rolling, we have our very own house band, and they are too cool. They've just released their first CD called Freak Me Out to the Deluxe, and man, they know how to do it. Please welcome the Bare Bones house band, Popmaster!
The only thing that Potmaster ever truly recorded was the album Freak Me Out to the Deluxe, which was recorded by Ward Pike and Don Ellis in 2 separate sessions. Part of the Potmaster record that we recorded with Don Ellis was recorded during the Blackout 94. There was 4 days of no power in downtown St. John's, and our jam space where we were recording was right in the heart of that. We're sitting at the jam space with a bunch of rented gear going oh my god, we're paying rental on all this gear and we can't even turn it on and start recording. We lost half of our recording time to that.
Listening back to the recording, I can hear Johnny's guitar in one ear and my guitar in the other. They totally clash, in terms of what we were doing, but I think when you put it all together, it just mushed together, and it was this really, it was heavy.
Revelation with expectation. I thought that I could pull it off, but I was mistaken. I wish that I could stay. I had enough fire candy.
At the time, our house was, our bedroom and our jam room was all kind of one thing, and there was a door to the outside. It was basically in the basement of this house. And so there's a knock on the door, right? So this guy with fuzzy long hair is like, hey, yeah, I heard you guys playing and stuff, and, would you mind if I just kind of sat around and watched? We're like, yeah, sure, whatever, right? Anyway, it turns out it's Fred Gamberg, so we had, of course, seen Fred at various shows, because, at the time, he was the one who was organizing most of the shows. And he said, you guys should do a show. You guys should play this show. And they're like, what? Is this guy crazy, right?
He's climbing the wall.
basically, if you said, I have a band, he would say, you're on first tomorrow night. He was this enigma that just lived at CHMR. Like, I had a Sunday night radio show that was like the closing show of the night. Like, it started at 11 p.m. and I could play until there was no one on after me, so I could play until whatever time I wanted. And then I would play the Ode to Newfoundland and sign off the radio and turn off the tape machines and leave. But more often than not, while I'd be in the middle of my show, Fred Gamberg would show up in the studio and just go like, I'll be asleep in the studio. Let me know, wake me up when you're done, and I'll just broadcast afterwards. And so at like 1 a.m, I'd finish my show, go wake up Fred, and he'd just come in and start playing records after me until whoever came in at 6 a.m. He'd be there all night.
Welcome back, everyone. It's now 1 minute past midnight up here, CHMR FM. This is Fred Gamberg. Yes, you can tell, can't you? The show is on the edge. And if you have a request, problems with your coffee maker, whatever, call me 737-7935. And I'll see if you really hear what I say on the air.
On a hot, hazy summer day, the big river in Flat Rock hardly lives up to its name. Little more than a trickle right now, the river still has its attractions, especially for kids looking for a spot to cool off. Like this pool, where teenagers jump from the cliff into roughly 15 feet of water. It's all in a day's fun, but last night was another story. The RNC say a group of young people was swimming here around 11:30 last night, when one of them, 24-year-old Fred Gamberg of St. John's, went missing. Divers recovered his body at around 5:30 this morning.
I never really knew anybody who died before.
It was shocking because everybody knew him, you know, and he was that guy. He was always there.
It started like the scales tipped a little bit. Like, it sort of, you could just feel things changing a little bit.
It was never the same after he passed away.
And when he died, you just felt the whole scene. Just like the whole scene died.
I think that had a huge effect on what was happening in that scene. I mean, you know, you can even go far as say that, you know, maybe, you know, it was because of him that it was so big, you know, in a way, and that it got so big.
It seemed like everything kind of fell in place, that like Fred died, Kurt Cobain died, right? And like bands were breaking up as well. It was a lot of things that kind of was the culprit of kind of the dying scene.
At some point, the LSPU Hall stopped doing the all-ages shows.
The theater scene got its shit together and realized we were in their way, and Fred dying at that time as well, and us sort of moving on to more bar shows, led to the hall sort of being reclaimed by the theater community, in many ways rightfully so.
Fred Gamberg represents a particular time and a particular place in Newfoundland underground music. I think what Fred did was give a lot of people who wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise a vehicle to express themselves and to get on stage as young people. And that's what Fred represents, the empowerment of youth culture.
Chance to play like big venues and different, like from doing this, from being in that band. It was a good trip to go through all that and experience like the 90s era with the all ages shows, with all the big crowds and coming to the shows. We kept playing, and we were playing at the Peace Accords, and eventually just kept playing until Brian moved. I think Brian ended up moving to Calgary afterwards. We never really broke up. It was just like hiatus because someone moved out of the province and came back, and so we're back together again. Oh, someone's working offshore, so whatever. But and we all had like different focus or different interests as well. Like we formed other bands. Brian was in different bands. Jamie played in different bands. I played different bands. So as Potato Bug was on the side, you know, like we would do our own thing, and eventually we'd come back and do reunion shows. It almost feels like it's like a family coming back together again to do a family reunion. You still have fans that still kind of listen to the music or like know of that we've existed as Potato Bug.
You know, for us, we all got busy. Like, you know, some of us had kids and you know, we got real jobs. But yeah, you know, we were everyone was all in. You know, it was like, you know, yep, we're doing it.
It's so hard to get better.
Everybody, let's make it happen again. Let's make the 90s happen again.
It was really fun to break up those riffs again and play them again with those people. It's a mutual experience that a lot of people, you know, in this town have and are connected by, and I still see people who are at those shows. At that Popmaster reunion show, a guy in the front row, he was like, "You're the reason why I'm playing in a band now," and he plays in the band Allagash. There are bands in this town today playing because those kids at age 14 came to the LSPU Hall and saw Popmaster wearing, you know, stupid outfits, blasting crazy light shows and swamping the place in smoke machines and strobe lights while we played weird grungy metal.